Wine Wednesday, where I am drinking tea instead of wine because I am still on progesterone. Although you will know if you follow our Instagram account at Two Ladies Make a Baby, that I did cheat for Winemaker's Dinner this past weekend for Chelsea's birthday and my dad's birthday. However, that night aside, I'm still staying away from wine until I'm done my down-regulating hormones. It's just not the same. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about wine labels. How do you read a wine label? How do you know what you're buying, basically? Now, there's two different kinds of wine labels that you're going to be trying to read. You're either going to have New World wine labels or Old World. And New World and Old World, maybe I'll do a separate video about that, but just really simply, the difference is basically just what countries the wine is coming from. It has effects on taste and stuff, but we're not going to get into that. So an Old World wine region is somewhere that winemaking originated, whereas a New World wine region is somewhere that wine making styles and grapes were brought to after, how do they phrase it? I think after the age of exploration. So when you really get down to it, New World wine regions are places that white people invaded, such as Australia, South Africa, North America, most of South America, and places in Asia like Japan, China that make wine. Whereas Old World wine regions are the places that those white people came from who were invading. So I have a New World wine region from Niagara, because that's near where I live, and an Old World wine region so that I can show you the two different kinds of labels and what you're going to be reading differently on both. Now, the first thing that we should get out of the way is just talking about labels in general, because I know a lot of the times we do buy things based on their cover. The old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. I mean, maybe don't, but also like we pay people a lot of money to come up with great book covers and quite frankly, great wine labels. This bottle of wine, which I will hold up, it's not focusing as it's focusing. I have 3 of these in my house. I did not buy a single one of them for myself. Not because it's not good wine, it is, but I got them all as gifts and I'm still drinking through them. And the reason for that is it's got a gorgeous wine label. So the bottom line is, if you're buying wine from your liquor store, your wine store, wherever you're getting it from, because you like the label, I mean, go for it. Why not? The worst thing that's going to happen is you bought one, you didn't like it after you drank it, and you probably won't buy it again just because it's pre-labeled. I personally have bought tons of wine based solely on how cute the wine label is. So maybe I'll throw up a few pictures of certain ones that I like, either because I think that they look really cool, because they like fit something, a theme or a style that I personally really like or identify with, or sometimes they just have like really cool gimmicks or like certain interactive things in the label. So things like on the front of their labels, they put things that you would, I think it's the front. On one side of their labels, they put things that you would say sort of at a dinner party or out loud to people, niceties. And on the back, it's like what you're really thinking. Super clever. That being said, if you're looking at a wine label and you think, ooh, this is really cool, what the heck kind of wine is it? I want to break that down for you. So we're going to go through an Old World wine label and a New World wine label. So on an Old World bottle of wine, like from here, you can see a few different things indicated. You have the house that the wine came from, so shown most prominently, and that's Veuve Clicquot in this case. You'll also see the location of the champagne house. What you'll sort of notice is one of the main differences between Old World wine labels and New World wine labels is that it actually doesn't have what types of grapes go into making the wine. So you'll see the word champagne, I mean, obviously really strongly across the top. Champagne isn't the type of grape that the wine is made out of. It's a wine region in France that sparkling wine originated from. So you can have sparkling wines from Definitely other countries. Niagara region has tons of sparkling wine, especially recently. They've gotten a lot more. But a sparkling wine from the Champagne region will always be Champagne. And even other regions in France don't use the Champagne name. They're indicated typically as Crémant, where it could be something like Crémant de l'Or, which is from the Loire region, or Crémant de Bourgogne, which is from Burgundy region. Old world wine regions sort of rely on you to either really be buying based on region or knowing the types of grapes that typically come from any kind of particular region in that area. Again, I just happen to have a bottle of French wine, so I'm using this as an example, but this is true sort of for most old world wine regions. Champagne, so I know, typically has 3 grapes that grow there. They're Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. So it's part of the tricky part is that when you see Champagne and you don't see sort of anything else indicated like a Blanc de Noir telling you sort of giving you a further hint as to what the type of grape must be, you really are, you might be getting a blend of some kind, and you're buying more based on the region. So this is true of non-sparkling wines as well. So if you know, for example, that a wine is coming from Chablis, it's going to be Chardonnay. It's, again, you're buying more based off of the wine region than in the particular grape. If you don't see a specific year that appears on the label, you can assume that it's a non-vintage. So the vintage is the year in which the grapes were grown. So for example, if it had 2010, it would be grapes that were harvested in, grown and harvested in 2010. Non-vintage usually means that it was a blend of wines from grapes that might have been harvested during different years. In particular, I see a lot of sparkling wine that's non-vintage, but other wine also comes in non-vintage as well. Another word you see really prominently displayed on this is the sweetness dryness level. This isn't always indicated on wine labels, but it often is. So when you see Brut on there, it indicates that it's a dry champagne, and that's usually one that you see pretty commonly on sparkling wine bottles. I mean, you also got some sort of really basic stuff on your bottle of wine, things like size of the bottle, 750 milliliters, and the percentage of alcohol, which is 12% alcohol per volume in this case. So then you have the New World bottle of wine. So you're going to see usually in New World the producer most prominently displayed. In this case, it's Leading Post, which is the winery that produces this wine. And then typically you get sort of into what's the variety. Whereas on the Old World region, you'll see the appellation to indicate the wine. We, in the New World, typically indicate the varietal of, or varietals of grape. So this wine is a Gamay. You might see indicated a red blend, so that it's a blend of different type of red grapes. And sometimes it's indicated what they are, and sometimes it's not. Or you'll see things like Cabernet Merlot, which is typically a Cab Sauv blend. And that's just to indicate what type of grape that is being made into the wine. And that's actually usually how most wine drinkers of New World wine choose. They'll say, you know, it'll be things like, I really like Chardonnays, I really like Gamays, I really like Cab Francs, and conversely, you'll get things like, I hate Merlot, or I can't stand Sauvignon Blanc. On here, you're also gonna see the region that it's coming from. So in this case, VQA is our indicator in Ontario of a bottle of wine that meets the sort of standards that our regions have. So VQA in this case stands for Vintners Quality Alliance, if I'm remembering correctly. And then the actual region is the 20 Mile Bench, which is a sub-region in our Niagara wine region here. So it's a wine from Niagara, but more specifically it's from the 20 Mile Bench. And why it's nice to see that indicated sort of concretely is because even though the Niagara region has some things in common, there's also differences within our sub-regions here. You'll also see the vintage displayed there. So this is a vintage bottle of wine. The grapes were grown and harvested in 2016. And then the other thing that you see sort of prominently on here is that this is a part of a special series that this wine maker made called the Freaks and Geeks series. This one's called The Natural, and it's because it's made in a sort of a special way that's unfiltered. So you'll often see that if there's something that's really unique about how the wine is made, that's indicated on the label as well. Now you'll see a couple things that are missing on the front here that were indicated on the front label on the Veuve, and we have those on the back. So you usually got like a nice little thing about that particular wine style or the vineyards that it's from, or about the history of the winery on here. But you also got the 750 milliliters, the alcohol percentage, so 11.5% alcohol per volume. When you put them sort of side by side, you do see some main differences in terms of how you're going to read an old world bottle of wine versus a new world bottle of wine when you're trying to purchase it. So going back to my example before of a Burgundy wine labeled that the appellation is Chablis, it doesn't say anywhere on that label that Chablis is Chardonnay as the grape, and that Chablis Chardonnay is typically unoaked, whereas a bottle of wine from a new world like Niagara or areas in the States would typically say Chardonnay right on it and often indicate whether or not a wine is oaked or not. Understanding what the wine label says, it really doesn't tell you how the wine is going to taste. You might know whether or not it's a drier wine or a sweeter wine, so you know that a Brut is going to be drier. You might have some ideas about, and you might know that a Blanc de Blanc might taste more of a certain way because you know it's going to be made from Chardonnay grapes as opposed to Pinot Noir grapes. So it can give you a better picture of what you're buying, and it's not going to tell you how the wine tastes. Alright, so to end off the video today, I will show you my wine shirt that I've chosen today, because it's kind of been covered up by this super comfy sweater that I got the other day. So on here, what does it say? Vote for Vino. Not super puntastic, but still an excellent wine themed shirt. So thanks for watching, thanks for joining me. Check out Chelsea's video from last week for Witchy Wednesdays, talking about our fertility altar, and feel free to check out our main sort of trying to conceive video series that we have on our channel as well. I hope that you have a great week and you are enjoying a fantastic bottle of wine this Wednesday night in honor of Wine Wednesdays. And feel free to let me know in the comments or on any social media if you found any part of this sort of helpful in figuring out what you're buying in terms of your bottles of wine. Cheers.